Hi, hello. My name is Marcus Giotto. Um, we are going to be talking in this video clip about cultural differences between Brazil and United States. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of my background. I came to United States in 2000, hired by Clark University in the chemistry department. So in Brazil, I have finished all my education there until the PhD level, and but I didn't know enough English at that time. Okay, so I worked as a postdoc and researcher, and for 6 years. Now I work at the University of Connecticut as a laboratory manager there, and I also teach on college level students in either classroom and online. Okay, so we are going to be talking about cultural differences, and for anyone who come from Brazil and spend some time in the United States. Okay, so one of the major differences is the behavior part of them. So one typical thing is the time. The Americans, they are really um, uh, educated in terms of time, and the Brazilians are more relaxed, right? So we joke that the Brazilians, when they have a watch in their hands, the arms of the watch means nothing. It's just a little detail, right? So the time itself for us is not as rigid as in United States. So we are always late for any appointment. And one thing that really it's surprising to us is when the Americans, they have a time to end a party, for instance, right? You go to people's parties and they say, okay, the parties go from 7 to 10 o'clock, right? And at 10 o'clock, everybody goes home. So this is really different from Brazil. So in Brazil, you will stay until the very last friend goes, right? And also little details in terms of the look, how people, eye contact. Here, during the conversation, you keep the eye contact. In Brazil, it's not like that. So people is more relaxed, and they don't take offense if you turn your eyes away from them, okay, during the conversation. Also, this handshaking here in America, if you don't shake firmly the hands, they think that you are not interested in being friends with them or something. So in Brazil, it's quite different. So we are more relaxed in many aspects. Also, the touch, the hugs, and kisses. I think we give 2 kisses in the cheek every time we meet. And here in America, it takes a little longer to be able to people touch their arms and body toucher. So as a friend, right? So also the the difference in expectations. So and in America, the Americans, they have a lot higher expectations in terms of commitments, right? And obeying the law also, right? So in Brazil, if you have a stop sign on the road, nobody quite stop. They just reduce the speed and they continue going. But in America, you must stop, right? So this is a very clear difference between a driver in Brazil and driving in America. So one beautiful thing that I've been learning, and I thank you for that, to obey the law, you know, and on traffic, you behave better, right? You obey the signs and so forth. In Brazil, it's a lot more relaxed, sometimes too relaxed. Right? So let's talk about education a little bit. And I had the opportunity to teach and to tutor actually students on an alternate high school. Actually, it was my first job as tutor 4 years after I was here in the United States. And those students, they were ESL students, ELL, right? English learners, and they were failing in the classroom because they didn't have the background they should have in their grade level. So I taught social studies in English for them, but translating to Portuguese. So they had a hard time understanding the concepts because in the regular classes, the teacher they had the schedule and the content to cover, but was too fast for them. So I actually was hired by the high school um, to tutor them, right? So I noticed a lot of lack of background from them in their own language. For instance, one of the students, he could not even recognize Brazil. He was a Brazilian student. He couldn't recognize his own country in a globe, right, on a map. He didn't know. And many other aspects too. I mean, one way that I found to connect with them and was through music. So I brought one day a bunch of instruments, percussion instruments, and we started to make noise, and they started to connect with me, and then they started to learn a lot more. So through a very unexpected way that I found out later, the music was a connection with them. And then one of the students at the end of the course, at the end of the semester, he said, Marcus, he called me Professor Giotto, Mr. Giotto, I think. He said, you earned my respect, and that's why I study more now. So this student who was earning C's and D's, they become to earn B's and A's in the classroom. But was a tutor setting, right? Very brief. But many other examples took place with friends, like kids that are from friends of the family, and also always related to the school system, right? One thing though that the students have in Brazil, for instance, they have access to the outside part. So the building is not locked during the time that they are having classes. So they can actually, during the break, go outside, buy something across the street, and come back. So this is very common in Brazil. And here, they can't. So imagine a student who is, I don't know, 8 years old or 10 years old in middle school, and they look outside, they see the grass, they see a beautiful day, but they can't go there. So in the beginning, for any ELL student who come from a country which is English is not the first language, English is a background noise for them. Okay, they are under stress. They have headaches every day, as I had for 2 years. So I remember that during 2 years I had a strong headache, and I didn't know exactly why, but it was because I was translating from Portuguese to English back and forth. So by coming back to the students, they are under stress in the classroom setting, the foreigner students. So please be patient with them and try to communicate with them using simple phrases, like less verbs and less complication in your phrase. So you will be able to connect with them and actually communicate, right? So one other aspect also is the students, they are in Brazil, they are used to throw stuff in the ground. And even adults like me. So I didn't care if I was littering outside, throwing a piece of paper or so. But then coming here on a system that is more organized and everything is clean, your trash shows, right? So after a few years, I learned from the American culture that I should not litter anymore and obey the law, stop and stop sign, and many other aspects also that are important. So the police also, right? So they follow you and they check on you quite often because they are everywhere. So in Brazil, you don't see as many cop cars around, so you don't feel accountable too much. So here, everywhere you go, you need to obey the law because there are someone to keep you accountable for. And also the tax money. So when we pay tax here, you see the tax money being used, most of them at least, in a police car, an ambulance, cleaning the streets, right? So in Brazil, you don't see much that. A lot of the tax money goes to politicians' pockets, and they get lost. So many of the money that should go back to the society disappears. So this is a very big difference between one country and another. You know, the way the law is applied. So that's very important. We have good laws in Brazil, but they are not well applied as in the United States. So if you remember, the age of both countries are similar. Since the discovery, they are 500 years old, roughly. But you see the difference now, how strong is the United States and how different is Brazil. Okay? So that is the attitude, the beginning, the beginner, you know, in the beginning of the country, you have people looking for organized laws and creating something good or new from scratch. In Brazil was an exploitation site from Portugal. So for many, many years, people went to Brazil to get stuff from there and sell in Europe, right? Gold, wood, and there is a very famous wood in Brazil called pau-brasil, Brazil wood, right? It's a rosewood, it's called. So there are differences, but it reflects in the student's performance. Okay.